Alrighty, coming because I'm inside, flying right over the apartment again. Remember, as I'm capturing a 15-minute long video, they fly away and they stay at a distance because I am the one that they're targeting. By the way, you know that because the fake sun stays at the property all day long. You also know it because of engineer light. That's not normal light activity. And they're flying directly over the apartment while I'm inside of it and doing the exact same thing, flying off and staying at a distance. I want to be clear, the people of the state are gang stalking right now while they're crossing path with me while I'm walking, and they're gang stalking. Okay, I want to be clear, you need to understand you're dealing with mental instability that's exposed while the demon possessed, which you are now not ignorant about anymore. You are identifying them by their behavior and their presence in an environment. You are also aware that mental instability that coexists with demon possession, and this is the direct evidence of it, and it is also supporting disbanding and federal prison, mandatory federal prison for gang stalking police officers who are targeting American citizens in order to maliciously murder and or kidnap them, while again masquerading as having enforcement authority under the law, when they're actually engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, and you do not have authority under the laws of the when you are targeting them, and your abuse of law enforcement resources or using your badge to do so is the acts of criminal obstruction of justice, with the entity this particular entity is doing while I've been documenting, the Ontario Police documented the state of California since 2019 as a matter of documentation. All right, flying over the apartment and then flying at a distance, that's what they did over there for 15 minutes on video. They stayed over there. As soon as I go back in my apartment, they're flying back over again. So I just want you to see again, this is impossible light activity. This is indeed criminal monitoring. There's another shadow behind me. This is group stalking by demons that live in an apartment complex, and all of them over 55, they're all going to federal prison. They're gang stalking with the Ontario International Airport as well, and this is ongoing impunity. Okay, you are crossing path while you live at the venue. None of that, you're not protected from the pattern of conduct, nor are they protected from prosecution. Crossing path and engineer light with multiple shadows, and they're coming out, but you're crossing path while I'm walking in the environment and they live at the venue. It's the same thing by those that live in the neighborhood. The entire city of Ontario is going to be prosecuted. So I'm pointing out to you what is indeed all the elements of monitoring that remain present, and you're also mindful of the fact those demons flew off, and they fly in a circle over there while the people of the state are maintaining foot traffic and traffic inside of the parking lot. Light activity, relevant positioning. It's also light activity while demons have multiple shadows and walk by you. It's also light activity while I have multiple shadows and the demons are inside of the buildings and they're all crossing path. This is gang stalking at an apartment complex. They're all going to federal prison. They're engaged in 24-hour surveillance at Woodside, and there is no exception with regard to the advanced age. You've got elderly citizens, the elderly, like the demon at 55, and she stays up and does not go to sleep. She is stalking obsessively right above me in the path. She doesn't even go to her bedroom. She's stalking me wherever it is that I'm in the apartment, and that's speaking to the pattern of conduct that all of them are engaged in. Okay, so the entity is facing a wealth of evidence over a term of years, and as I document more, the entity is very mentally unstable. That's speaking to the demon-possessed condition, which is relevant because it's terrorism, not only because the police are gang stalking, but because they're demon-possessed, they're exhibiting their demon possession. This is designed to psychologically torture the ordinary target individual that does not have evidence to prove it. Okay, so the entity is, in other words, employing the supernatural, all right, which is supposed to be the basis of corrupt gang stalking police officers who intend to murder and kidnap to defame that targeted individual. Mike LORENZ is being exposed. He knows exactly what's going on with regard to the resources it requires to use helicopters. They're putting on the books what it is that they're doing in the helicopters. What they're doing is gang stalking. And that entire police department at 2500 South Archibald Avenue, where the fake sun is over my head at that police department, they're going to be disbanded. The gang stalkers using helicopters are going to federal prison. Okay, and they're doing so as cowards that fly off in the distance when I come out, just like they did in the previous video, flying off and staying in the distance. They're not going anywhere though. And you saw this over and over again in Los Angeles. The entity does this with regard to revealing mental illness. This is further corroboration about what the Ontario International Airport engaged in. And the Ontario International Airport is the same entity engaged in criminal acts of obstruction of justice. The people of the state are the same entity engaged in criminal acts of obstruction of justice. The Ontario International Airport engaged in maintaining criminal surveillance on a systematic basis all day long. As I publish that evidence, the demons that are gang stalking via and in concert with the Ontario International Airport arrive via helicopter to communicate a threat to the life of an American citizen. Mike LORENZ is no chief of police. He's being publicly exposed, and he shall be removed. And he will have nothing to do with law enforcement. This agency has been engaged in the exercise of fictitious authority. They don't even have a right to live in this specific environment. You don't have a right to be, but understand how the malicious pattern of conduct is supposed to exist as what is free, constitutionally protected activity, and none of it is. It's entirely demonic. That's how you have a fake sun rising and setting at the same address in alignment with me. The fake sun rises in alignment to me. The fake sun sets in alignment to me. And this is where the fake moon is in alignment to me. This is where the demon possessed are gang stalking. All the noise that they make and all the light activity is centered on what I do as I do it. And now you're witnessing criminal acts of retaliation, which is very, very foolish. The chief of police, they are not exempted from federal prison. And I've stated that before regarding during the time when Dominic Choi was the specific criminal facilitating and engaged in a gang stalking while I was in Los Angeles. Because, and why is that? Because first of all, you're a terrorist leader like Osama bin Laden. This is just Americanized domestic terrorism. You are a terrorist leader. You are engaged in criminal conduct. You are not exempted from a federal prosecution. Moreover, because you're not referencing an individual, you're referencing an entity that's monitoring the surveillance. It is a communication of a specific threat while that demon is identified very specifically, such as Jay Burnett, okay, such as Jason Knighton, such as Mike Lorenz, such as Paul Leon, and the entity continuously engages in that. You will find yourself having no constitutional shelter from a federal prosecution. You, by your name. Okay, so I want to be clear. It is currently 10:59 p.m. and this is where an entity is hovering over, remember the context, a senior citizen complex, hovering all day long, every 5 to 15 minutes by commercial plane, and hovering at 11 o'clock at night, which is, again, I documented 2 o'clock in the morning while I'm preparing to disrobe in the bathroom, and they're engaging in stalking and helicopters. Those are sex offenders and they're gang members, not law enforcement. And these are the demon possessed who are gang stalking. The evidence of that is the specific environment, which is also present at nightfall, where the sun and the moon remains over me. The demon possessed are gang stalking together, and that is a gang stalking police department unveiling what is mental instability amongst those who are unfit and disqualified by virtue of their condition, which inclines them toward criminal conduct, which is a matter of evidence to prosecute and remove them. Okay, it is again 11 p.m. This is P.O.C.